Hi, Michelle Houghton here for Copic in the Craft Room. I've got a fun challenge this week. I'm working with Copic Colors. That is a monthly challenge over at the Copic website, challenging me, or us, all of us who love Copics, to use only 3 markers. And the colors they selected this month are 3 earth tones, E04, E41, and E47. I've got this adorable giraffe stamp from Tiddly Inks. Christy Kroll just does amazing work, and I love her stamps. So I've printed this off on some Express blending card, and I am coloring this up. I'm starting with my E41 and getting kind of a smooth base layer on the entire face. And I am going to go light to dark, but I'm going to do a lot of back and forth because, as you can see, as I start laying down the E47, there is a big gap between some of these colors. So I'm going right in with E47 because I know I want these splotches to be that darker color, but I don't want them to be totally flat. So I've stopped at the edge and I'm coming in with my E04 and I'm really working it. So I'm doing lots of small little circles right over the edge of that E47 and then filling to the edge. Now the best part about these 3 colors is, even though there's some pretty big gaps, they start with that first number being different. We jump from a 0 to a 4. So they are different kind of color groups in the earth tone family. It still allows me to blend those together because Copics just do that. So I'm adding some detail on the face to kind of give it that roundness. Remember, a giraffe has kind of that long little snout, and it's more of a cylinder out in front of the ball of its head. So I'm thinking about the shape as I add that shading kind of from the bottom jawline up and underneath the mouth and coming up around his little head so he looks a little more round. Lots of back and forth. I'm going to say that again. So E04 is coming back in, adding a little more. I didn't feel like I gave it quite enough dimension, so I'm pushing that a little further back, coming back in with my E41 to soften those edges. Hopefully now we're getting a little sense of that shape. Each time I add another layer, even though it's the same colors, I'm going to get even a deeper color because I'm layering ink, and so I'm adding more. E04 is going on to the edges of his little, I don't even know what those are called under a giraffe. It's not really a horn, but those little tufts at the top, and E41 down the center, adding some of that lightest color in on the center of the ears, and then E04, softening that up. And I'm going to come back with a little more E04. I decided more of the ear needed that kind of darkening around the edge to really frame that out. Exact same process on the second one. E41, E04 in these long little flicks, and then hitting that tip and a little bit on the edge, and then softening back again with E41. Now I've got the edges of the ear, so that's the part that's coming around and curling, and so we see that skin color again. So this part's going to stay that lighter, but I'm going to add the shading in. I've got the E47 coming right from the very base of the ear up, a little bit of E04 to soften that out. And actually, I really like how this turned out. I felt like this blended pretty well together, and it gave just a sense of the shape of those fun ears. So I've got his long neck, and I'm using the same process I used on his face. The neck is easier because it's really just a long tube. It's a long cylinder, where the face has a little more shape to it. We've got the kind of the ball with the cylinder or cone coming out from it. But a cylinder, if we've done this once or twice, I have the shading down along the sides and it lightens up as it comes forward toward the viewer, or depending on where your light is. But for the most part, it's going to get lighter as you come toward the front. So this time I'm doing this a little in reverse. I've based in the E41, and then I'm coming in with my E04 first on those splotches. Now here comes the E47, and I'm kind of thinking as I go. You can see me kind of stalling here and there. So I'm trying to decide how to really, do I really want this kind of to stop at a certain level? Do I want the centers to be a little darker? So I play around with that a little bit. Coming back with the E04 to start softening up that E47. Again, this actually takes quite a bit of scrubbing. So I'm really doing some pretty heavy circling and scrubbing right on top of where the E47 stops. So right over that edge. I've got that dark cast shadow under his little face. So I went over that once with E04. I added some of that E04 also into the areas between the splotches. So again, we're still continuing that shape of that neck. More on that cast shadow. The E47 comes underneath the chin, right on the cast shadow, and then also down the full length of the neck. I'm going to soften that up with E04 and those gaps in between. And also again with E41. So again, pulling that color out, so smoothing it and then pulling it in a little further. And I've got this awesome little giraffe. Thanks for stopping by this week. Make sure to stop by when you have a chance to my blog at scrapweaver.com. If you haven't had a chance to like my channel yet, make sure to click like so you can get a fun video in your inbox each week. And a big thank you to Tiddly Inks for this adorable giraffe image this week. Have a happy, colorful week.